Thanks for staying with us. Before we discuss Turkey, we'll first start with the news happening in Nigeria, which is about the fact that many Nigerians are still having trouble getting naira notes, especially when CBN put out videos outside yesterday that many of us have, that many banks are actually, some banks are trying to sabotage the system. So on the show today, we'll have our guest, the head media and publicity at EFCC, Mr. Wilson Wajaring. He'll be discussing the arrest of the commercial bank manager who has been said to have ordered the new naira notes meant for the customers in Abuja. To join the conversations, call us on 081-270-53687, 091-390-76948. You can also tweet us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag yourview TVC so we can read your tweets. Good morning, sir. Are you there?
Yes, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yes, so we're hearing, Nigerians were really worried about the fact that the video making the rounds, that many banks are hoarding the new naira notes. And your operatives have been around the country arresting some. Could you give us an update on how that is going?
Well, you will recall that since the naira redesign policy was announced, the EFCC has been quite active, going around checking the activities of unscrupulous speculators and racketeers. You also recall that as soon as that policy was announced, there was a dip in the value of the naira, and we had to go around all the road exchange operators across the countries, and we made some arrests, and that, to some extent, forks down the value of the dollar compared to naira. But now we have a fresh challenge. This one is not about dollar again, it's the local currency, the naira. People don't seem to have access to the new naira notes. And just as you are worried, we are also worried in EFCC because we also are victim of this unwholesome situation that we find ourselves in this country. So the chairman has mandated operatives across all the zonal commands and their headquarters to go around banks to look at their votes and see whether they have this currency, and they are deliberately withholding those currency from getting to those who are in need of naira. And that has led to some discovery that tend to suggest that we have some unscrupulous players within the banking system that are not really complying fully with the directive of the central bank to load their ATMs and then pay some amounts across the counter. That was what happened yesterday. Our operative visited about 5 banks in Abuja and one of the banks in the central area. When they assessed the votes, they discovered that they had 29 million in their votes of new currency, while there were long queues outside of the bank premises of people who wanted to withdraw from the ATM. And they had about 9 ATM points in that bank. Only one was working, and they had so much money and they were not dispensing.
Let me get a few more questions.
The operations manager to questioning.
Okay, sir. So in the course of your investigation, let's take, for instance, the bank now that you found that amount of money in the vault. What was their explanation for keeping the money and not loading it into the ATM?
That is the reason why we took the operations manager for further questioning, and we'll get to the bottom of it. Okay.
They are still asking questions.
You know, once you pick up somebody, he has to come and formally take his statement, he documents it. It's not just an oral thing that you say what is happening and he just answers you and you go over. It's a law enforcement thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. But, you know, because of how sensitive and dicey the matter is, we would even like to know why they think it's so important that they should keep money away from Nigerians. What is in the system that allows for them to even have that, create that loophole that they can get away with it? How long did it take, you know, EFCC to realize that people, that these banks were not releasing the monies, that they were keeping it away? So I guess that's where the question is, like, what could we find out quickly to be able to forestall it? Because what you've done now, once you've arrested this first group, what happens to the next group? Would they now release the money, or would they find a different way of hiding the money? So that's why we're asking this question. And maybe if you have an idea of why you think they may be doing this.
Nobody can tell you exactly why they are doing it, but you know, in every situation you have in this country, people want to cash in on the situation for personal gains that they want to get from it. That is my own assessment of the situation. But the operation that we have is an ongoing thing. We are not stopping now. Even as I speak to you, there are operatives that are out there in Abuja here and across our zonal command visiting the banks. And we want to continue to do that on normality is return. Our major objective now is to reduce the sufferings of Nigeria, make this money available to people so that they can do transactions that they want to do. And as we do that, and we find that there are people who deliberately violate the law, there are regulations, there are laws that we can use to ensure that they are brought to justice.
Right.
Yeah, my question is why it took so long for the central bank and the EFCC to actually go into these banks, because the money has been released since the 15th of December. And it is not today that we knew that the currency was not in the public space. And we've been seeing people with the money at parties, and some people post on social media, they have the money, but it wasn't getting into the hands of the ordinary Nigerians. So I'm wondering why it took a crisis for the CBN and the FCC to react. Because right now we are at crisis level.
No, I don't think it took too long to react. If you follow the trend, initially when they asked people to return the old currency to banks, that was the focus. People were returning. And then there was complaint that the new currency was not, that those who returned their money, they were being paid back with the old currency. There was no issue about people not having access to the new notes yet. But when people now responded to the fact of the call to return the old naira, and they did, and now you are not having access to the new notes, that was when we realized that there is a problem. And the CBN has been upfront sending its officials across the country to appeal to people, to the banks, to release the money to their customers.
Mr. Wilson.
The orders of banks to ensure that they follow the guidelines of the CBN.
Mr. Wilson, one of the concerns that have been raised is the safety of these bankers. Because the truth is, when you carry your camera into a vault and you record the faces of ordinary Nigerians probably receiving instructions from somebody at the top saying, don't pay back, putting the lives of these people in danger, what do you tend to achieve when you put innocent Nigerians who are just doing their work, put their faces on camera saying, look at them, they're not releasing the money? Is that the right modus? Is that the modus operandi for this kind of situation?
No, I don't think, at the end of the EFCC, I don't think you have seen us release any photograph of bankers doing their work. What I know that we have released from this commission are cash in the vote, not pictures of bankers or pictures of customers. So that one does not...
We saw faces. I can even give you a name. Somebody mentioned his name. There was one in Sterling Bank. There was a video with Sterling Bank. The man mentioned his name. You know, we saw videos of staff trying to escape over the fence. These are scale the fences for safety. Because once you tell the public, it is the bank, or they are keeping your money, you put regular Nigerians too at danger, don't you think?
That certainly did not emanate from the EFCC.
That's not the point.
Not the point, sir. Can I ask another question? Okay, so I also want to know if the EFCC is investigating the CBN, because we know that when we get this new note, when you go to the bank and you get a new note, it has the crest of the bank. But so far on social media, those people who were spraying bundles did not have the crest of any bank, so it could have directly come from the CBN. Are you people still intending, or is there any investigation as well in the CBN quarters to find out where some of this money is leaked from?
We don't actually announce people that we are investigating. If we need to investigate, we do our investigation discreetly. At the moment, the focus of the EFCC operation is to reduce the sufferings of Nigeria by making banks to comply with the directive of the CBN to release money to the people.
Okay. Given what you have just said, how would you say this, what you've done so far how would you say banks have responded? And is it EFCC now or CBN that would have like a track, to be able to keep account of how much that was given to this bank and how much has been given out to Nigerians?
Like I told you, our operation is not stopping now. As I speak to you, our PTs are still out there checking bank books to ensure that nobody is holding the new currency. And this is also intended to send a message to those who are doing it or who still intend to do it, that if they are caught, they are likely going to go for it.
I would just
no, because I'm still going to go back to my question, because you said you acted in time. The directive was for the 31st of January. By 31st of January, there was no money, which was why the CBN governor had to extend it to the 10th of February. From the 1st of January to the 31st of January, you people did not know that there was no money, no new money in the markets for people. People had been lamenting before then.
But what our operation is showing now is that you have some banks who have access to this money but are not dispensing the money. And that is what we want to correct. If you have the naira, dispense it to those who the currencies are meant to service. It is not for banks to hold those currencies or for any officials of banks to sit on the new naira note.
Okay,
dispense the money in line with the guidelines that the central bank has set.
We have to wrap up with you, but I think one of the feedback I would like you to take away from this conversation is that the people that are hoarding or the people that you are arresting are not the culprits. They have reports of people who are their bosses, the MDs of the banks. Those are the ones you should be holding responsible, because somebody would not intentionally, maybe I'm wrong, a staff or a regular manager would not keep 29 million in his vault and only put money in one ATM. He doesn't have that kind of authority. So I would prefer that EFCC goes beyond just arresting or sanctioning all these small managers and go the scapegoats and go for real to the real source, the owners of the banks or the branch managers or the regional manager, whatever it is, and they are the ones that were given instruction that to retain 29 million in your vault and keep. That doesn't make any sense. But I would really, because the ones in the banks and outside the bank, they're all Nigerians, and they need to be protected by EFCC. So EFCC is not just against the bank workers. You also have to be protecting the bank workers also from this that happened. Well, thank you very much, sir, for joining us this morning, for giving us clarity. We appreciate it. Let's go on a break. When we come back, move on to other topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.